Day Agent Orange balloon release. Again this year, in our continued efforts to conserve our helium resources and to be more environmentally friendly, the Washburn University ROTC cadets are handing out orange carnations, and we will release 3 symbolic orange balloons at the end of this portion of today's ceremonies. Please feel free to take the flowers with you, or as an alternative, you may leave them here at the memorial behind me as you leave today. I would like to begin today by asking all the veterans of the United States Marine Corps who are with us today to stand and be recognized. Thank you. I see there are several of you here. I often ask my husband, also a Marine Corps vet, how it is that every time we go somewhere we run into another U.S. Marine Corps vet, when supposedly you are the few. But when you continue that phrase, the next word is the proud. Marine vets are so visible because they take pride in their service and display evidence of that pride in their clothing, hats and vehicles, decals, license plates. Very visible, very proud, comrades for life. Yesterday celebrating 140 years of the Corps. To all of you and to all the veterans here today, 240th, thank you, boy, thank you very much. To all of you and to all the veterans here today, thank you for your service. Now I want to turn our attention to another group bound together by a much more sober common ground, the effects of exposure to Agent Orange. During the Vietnam War, between 1962 and 1971, nearly 20 million gallons of herbicides, insecticides, and defoliant chemicals were used in Vietnam, eastern Laos, and parts of Cambodia. These chemicals were manufactured in many forms: dust, powder, tablets, pellets, and liquids. They came in containers as small as aerosol cans and as large as 55-gallon drums. The receptacles used to store, transport, and disperse these chemicals were painted in a rainbow of different colors: orange, purple, green, and blue. Today, the term Agent Orange is used collectively to identify all chemicals used during the Vietnam War. Eventually, a list of illnesses that are presumed to have been caused by exposure to Agent Orange was established. That list is still growing. The numbers of victims are still growing also. The trauma of these victims was for years silent and unseen. Agent Orange was an invisible weapon wounding lives of veterans and their families long after the Vietnam War ended. I would like to take the opportunity now to mention the Agent Orange Victims and Widows Support Network, the organization that is the originator of today's event, and to tell you a little about their Quilt of Tears. The quilts were originally begun in order to draw national attention to the plight of Vietnam veterans and their families who had been affected by exposure to Agent Orange. Agent Orange has been interwoven into the fabric of the lives of those veterans and their families. The Quilt of Tears is their story, told eloquently by their family and friends. During the 1980s, the very first Agent Orange Quilt of Tears project was started by Jennifer Lefebvre to commemorate the death of her husband, Gerald. Jenny, as one of the original Agent Orange widows, continued throughout her life to fight the battle pertaining to Agent Orange and its effect on Vietnam veterans and their families. Today, many other Agent Orange widows and surviving family members continue with her project. The Quilt of Tears now consists of 30 panels and travels around the country for exhibition, much in the same way as the Moving Vietnam Wall and Memorial does, which visits communities throughout the United States. The quilts have a life of their own and speak for themselves. Each panel is composed of individual blocks, each block telling the story of one person who has died from an illness directly caused by their exposure or a family member's exposure to Agent Orange. So on this Veterans Day 2015, I would like to invite all of you to join with me in a moment of silence. Today we come together with groups of people all across our country who pause to remember, reflect, and honor all those who have been affected by the use of Agent Orange. Let's pause now. I will now release 3 symbolic orange balloons, one to remember those who have died from Agent Orange-related illnesses, one to show our solidarity with those now suffering, and one to express our hope for a future without any more harmful effects of Agent Orange. Thank you all.
Thank you, Teresa. We appreciate learning more about that. Again, I'd like to welcome you today to this 28th annual Veterans Day ceremony. Today is the only day, and this is not the only time for us to say thank you. I just want to remind everyone that that is something that each of us can do as we meet a vet or in our conversations to express our gratitude. We have an opportunity today to learn more about the veteran and the community, and our keynote speaker will talk to a resilience program. But I just want to remind you that while the veteran may answer that call to service and to country, each one of us can also answer the call to reach out a helping hand, whether it's from the degree that is earned here, or as a faculty member who's teaching, or a staff person who's working. Any one of us can reach out and say, I'm here. If you need anything, let me know. I am being supportive and I want to help. So without further ado, I invite Reverend Jay Henderson of the University United Methodist Church to lead us in the invocation.
Would you bow in prayer with me? Almighty God, today we pause to indeed remember and to honor those who have served and are serving our country in military service. We give thanks for each one who gave their best when called upon. We give thanks for these moments, for this day, for each day, that we can say a heartfelt and deep thank you to men and women who served their country well. As we gather today to remember our military personnel, we acknowledge that their service enables us to walk as free men and women in this great land. We do pause to remember especially our wounded warriors. We know these heroes and their families are facing many challenges. Grant them a sense of grace and strength in their lives as we who care for them and for all veterans and current personnel seek ways to honor them by providing excellent care. May you continue to guide us in ways which not only remember and honor our military personnel, but in ways which lead each life, each country, each part of this world to a lasting peace, as you have intended from the very beginning of your creation. Grant us the wisdom to make decisions which will ultimately and finally bring peace to our world. Amen.
Please stand as you are able while the bells toll. rousing music. We are proud today to present the nationally recognized Topeka High School Marine Corps Junior ROTC drill team for a silent drill performance. What a wonderful performance of precision, cooperation, and focus on details. Thank you. And now, the Washburn Rural High School Marching Band will play the Armed Forces Medley. When your anthem is played, if you would give a wave to the rest of us, we would sure appreciate that. Steps forward, I would like to say that we have a group of student veterans on campus who are just amazing. Every semester, my office works with about 250 to 275 individuals who are using the GI Bill for school. And it's an honor to help them use that benefit package. And this semester is the first time that Washburn has had a Washburn University experience class. It is being taught by Gary Baines, and I believe the initial group started out with around 11 or 12 students. So if those individuals are here today, if they would stand, I'd like to have you give them a hand. Thank you. And at this time, I would like to ask Chris Bowers, who is a student veteran at Washburn, to come and give a welcome and to introduce our keynote speaker.
Welcome to Washburn University's Veterans Day ceremony. I am Chris Bowers. I'm a student of Washburn, and I am a veteran. Not only am I a veteran, but I'm the peer advisor that works with the class of Washburn University 101 course for veterans. I hope that this class will be the start of something more. I hope that we add the additional core classes of the university to include college algebra, freshman English, and junior composition that will be available as a class for veterans and a class of veterans. Yesterday, Washburn's Mabee Library opened a Veterans Success Center. I encourage you to visit it once the ceremony is over and look it over. If you're a veteran, I ask you to utilize it. Washburn also now has a student organization for veterans that will help veterans stay connected to Washburn campus and promote academic success. Today we celebrate Veterans Day with a salute to Washburn University veterans. In my military and veteran life, I have ever experienced a keynote speaker who was an enlisted man. It's always been the officer corps that got to do the keynote speaking. And as a former NCO of the Army, I am proud to introduce First Sergeant Jared Worley. He was born in Webb City, Missouri, graduated from high school in Galena, Kansas. He completed a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice at Central Christian College in McPherson, Kansas. He became a member of the Kansas Army National Guard in 1994. He has been assigned to combat engineering units for 21 years. He is currently assigned as a first sergeant to the 242nd Engineering Company out of Coffeyville, Kansas. He is also assigned as a Resilience Program Manager at the Kansas Joint Forces Headquarters in Topeka, Kansas. He deployed to Iraq for Operation Iraqi Freedom for 3 separate tours. He was awarded a Bronze Star Medal for his duty in Iraq. Other awards include the Army Commendation Medal, the Army Achievement Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, and an Iraqi Campaign Medal. He also wears the Badge of Courage, the Army Jump Wings. He is also a Master Resilience Trainer. He is currently enrolled in the United States Sergeants Major Academy. He is a member of the National Guard of the United States Association. First Sergeant Worley resides with his wife and children, now in Topeka, Kansas. I've had a few conversations with the First Sergeant. If I was going to introduce him, I didn't want to just read his biography and not be able to personally recommend him. And in those conversations, I know a couple things. He is a First Sergeant for a reason. He has the tenacity. He has the patriotism. He is a go-to kind of guy. He is a man of grit, and I'm sure he is great at teaching resilience to soldiers. First Sergeant Worley.
Good afternoon. It pains me to say this, but the Marine Corps JROTC, you can't go wrong with that. That looks really nice, as much as it pains me. And as of yesterday, happy 240th birthday to the Marine Corps. I've had a few interactions with the Marines. On my second tour, they helped us out and we helped them out. So we all have a common bond. We're brothers in arms, brothers and sisters in arms, and we just wear different uniforms. That's about it. There's other things that that pain some of us. You know, you hear in the media that we lose about 22 veterans a day to suicide. And I can say that I was on that path at one time. I went to had 3 combat tours. My second tour was probably the one that really did it into me the worst. It was route clearance, hunting for IEDs, getting blown up, getting shot at, having rocket attacks, mortars, everything else. My third deployment was I was at the Hill. It was easy. That's all I can say. But it was probably one of the best deployments I ever had. But also it took me down a spiral of mental anguish, confusion. Because when I came back home on my third tour in 2009, I went back into the civilian world, and I didn't have the leisure of leading soldiers and doing what I can do on a daily basis. And it affected my personal and my civilian work, and started getting into some anger issues. I started recognizing it with my children, my wife, and so I eventually was let go, was put on a 6-month vacation, all paid expense vacation to stay at the house. And I couldn't figure out why. And so my little wife, Kimberly, sitting over here, she's been with me for 16 years, going on 16 years, 3 tours, and she's been probably the most supportive person in my life. And I can't thank her enough. And to all the families that are at home, that stayed home while we were out doing what we had to do for our country, I owe them our gratitude as well. But back on track here, I couldn't figure out what was going on in my mind, so I started going to the VA, enrolled in there, started going to counseling sessions. They wanted to prescribe me a lot of medication, and I don't do medication. I just don't like the way it takes that feeling away from me. I'm not in control. So I walked out with a prescription about that long, watered it up and threw it in the trash, and started going to counseling sessions. And nothing against Vietnam vets or anything like that. I just personally I didn't connect with them. There's a few generations there that we're gapped between, and at that time I couldn't connect. Now I can, but at the time I couldn't. So I was sitting at home, unemployed, still on my 6-month vacation, paid expense, and I get a phone call from the Kansas Army National Guard, J1 at the time, Colonel Barry Adams, and he asked me if I would head a program up called Comprehensive Soldier Fitness. And I told him I don't know about that yet. He said, well, think about it and get back with me in a couple days. So I called him back. I thought about it. My wife said, just try it out. You're unemployed. You're in the military. You like that. Go ahead and do it. So I called him back, did an interview with himself and the late Lieutenant Colonel Steve Rexer, and got the job. So Comprehensive Soldier Fitness is a program that it's a resilience program. It's a program that gives you a set of tools, life tools, that keeps you from going down the wrong path. I took that and went to class, went to the training, became a Master Resilience Trainer, and since that time I have yet to go back to the VA. I don't take medication, and my life is so much better. Now, that's just me. It doesn't work with everybody, but I'm here to tell you that I've seen a lot of lives changed. And it isn't just for my generation, but it's also there for the generation before me. It's one of those, I can't thank the program enough, because if it wasn't for the program, I probably wouldn't be standing here right now. And I wouldn't say I would have made that decision, but we may not be living in the house that we're living in. I may not have the job that I have now that I'm thankful for. I may not be married, may not be able to see my kids, but if it wasn't for that, here today. And I'm here today because the veterans that are sitting in front of me, if it wasn't for you all, I wouldn't be here. You inspired me ever since I was a little kid in kindergarten running around in fatigues in the woods. My uncles, my grandfathers, just seeing the pictures, I wanted to be just like them. I wanted to be just like you. So back to the resilience program. Currently today, we have one of the strongest programs in the nation. Kansas went from being the bottom in the National Guard to being one of the top. And it wasn't just because of me, it was because of everybody else. But like I said before, it's the reason why I'm still standing here. It's just one of those things. It's, you know, you take it to heart. And I think everybody, all you that served before me, that are serving now, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, First Sergeant Jared Worley. You'll notice a flag on the podium, and it is resting here today in remembrance of Norman Kester, who passed away July 19 this year, age 68. He was in the U.S. Navy, aviation, boatswain's mate, launching and recovery, petty officer, 3rd class. Served 1966 to 1970 aboard the USS Ticonderoga and the USS Hancock. He served many years on the Washburn Veterans Day Planning Committee, and he retired from Washburn after 25 years as an electronic technician. He is remembered and greatly missed. And his wife Ellen is here today, and she is sharing this flag with us. So, Ellen, if you stand. Thank you, Ellen. So I'd like to share some names with you during this veteran tribute. A.J. Cottage died October 20, 2015, age 69. Captain, U.S. Marine Corps and Judge Advocate. Recipient of the Navy Achievement Medal, graduate of Washburn School of Law, part-time instructor at Washburn, a longtime Kansas public servant and former chief attorney for the Kansas Department of Labor. He was a friend to many. Arthur Lyle, Major, Air Force pilot, served 21 years, World War II, Korea, and Peru. Bill Leach, Chief Master Sergeant, United States Air Force, 1963 to 1993, in the continental U.S., and also Vietnam, Germany, and Korea. Dion Earhart, Senior Master Sergeant, U.S. Air Force, 1958 to 1979, continental U.S. and Thailand. Greg Johnston, Captain, United States Air Force. Albert Miner, Corporal, U.S. Marine Corps, World War II, in the Pacific. Kevin Michael Flatley, Sergeant in the Army, 2006 to 2012, in Alaska, Virginia, Afghanistan, and North Carolina. Lauren Patton, Sergeant, U.S. Air Corps, World War II, 305th Bomb Group. Jared Clark, Sergeant, U.S. Army, currently deployed to South Korea. Harold Raymond Fostick, Sr., Sergeant, U.S. Army, 1948 to 1952 in Korea. Cleophas Cushenberry, Jr., E5, Second Class Petty Officer, Coast Guard, July 1970 to July 1974, French Frigate Shoals, Vietnam. Walter Baker, Private, U.S. Army, World War II, European Front, including the Battle of the Bulge. Georgette Ferguson Rohr, U.S. Navy, World War II. Robert William Rohr, U.S. Navy, World War II. William Benoit Rohr, U.S. Army, World War I. James B. Renard, U.S. Navy, Vietnam era. Leon Renard, U.S. Army, World War II. Justin Root, Staff Sergeant, U.S. Marine Corps, 29 Palms, California, from 2005 to 2009. Lynchburg, Virginia, 2009 to 12. San Clemente, California, 2012 to 15. Okinawa, Japan, 2015 to the present. He also did 3 deployments for Operation Enduring Freedom. Herbert Swinder, Sergeant, Army, 1951 to 53, Korea. Thomas John Mikulka, Army, World War II, Europe. Dan Schmidt, Vietnam, 1972, Washburn employee. Francis G. Schmidt, deceased, Korean War, 1952. Patrick Elvin, Vietnam, 1964. John E. Ayers, Jr., Major, Army, 1962 to 1977, Vietnam, then National Guard Army Reserves until he retired in the 70s. Carl D. Corbin, Sergeant, U.S. Army, active duty November 9, 1983 to 1987, and Kansas Army National Guard, 1987 to 1989. Lieutenant Ray K. Wonder, U.S. Public Health Service, Bureau of Indian Affairs, 1960s. Lieutenant Earl L. Wonder, U.S. Public Service, Bureau of Indian Affairs, 1960s. Lieutenant Colonel Charles G. Wonder, U.S. Air Force. Major David Williams, U.S. Air Force, Vietnam. Sergeant Charles W. Stone, U.S. Army, Europe, World War II. Master Sergeant Alvin H. Stroud, U.S. Army, World War II. Sergeant First Class Johnny Bradley, U.S. Army, Iraq. Staff Sergeant Charlie Sharp, U.S. Army, World War II and Korea. Private First Class Jesse Adams, Kansas Army National Guard, Kosovo and Africa. Specialist Ron Pressgrove, U.S. Army, Vietnam. George Stiles, Army Air Corps, World War II. Ralph Stiles, U.S. Marine Corps, World War II. Meredith Kidd, the Navy. Wallace Ray Kidd, Sergeant First Class Army, 1941 to 1948, the European Theater. Elliot Maurice Kidd, Lieutenant Commander, Navy Reserve. Albert James Lyons, Jr., Private First Class, was stationed in Tan Son Nhut Airport near Saigon, 1964 to 1965. David Boos, Petty Officer, 3rd Class Navy, served 1968 to 1971 in Vietnam. Randy Sanders, Sergeant, Army, Saigon, Vietnam, and victim of Agent Orange. Samuel Matthews, Navy, World War II, Pearl Harbor, and Japan. Al Matthews, Navy, Vietnam. Dave Pennington, Staff Sergeant in the Army, 69th Infantry Brigade, 1972 to 78 in the U.S. Quentin Roscoe Russell, Air Force, Vietnam. Keith O'Donnell, World War II. And last but not least, all the names that are not read today, but the names of those who are held close to our hearts. At this time, I'm proud to introduce John Scott, piper with the Kansas Territorial Pipes and Drums. this time, if you would be we'll have taps with the echo. Bear Intertribal Brotherhood will be playing a prayer song in just a moment, and while they are doing that, I have a roll of string, and I'd like to start that in the front row, and if you would just pass it back through the rows, and anyone who would like to gather towards the back. This string is just to symbolize our connection today with each other and with those who have served and those of us who are called to serve in community. But it's a way to stay connected. And when we've passed around this string, I want you each to hold on to the string, and then we'll pass some scissors around so that you can take a piece with you to remind you of this connection today. After the prayer song, I would invite you to participate in two things. We will have one of our veterans, Matt Becker, will give a tour. There are 4 memorial sites on campus. The Vietnam Memorial. There's a plaque by the flagpoles and a bench by Benton, and then the World War I, II, and Korean plaque in the McVicker Room in the Memorial Union, which was built to honor veterans. So I would like to encourage any of you who'd like to do that short tour, and it will end in the reception in the lounge of the Memorial Union. And there is a beautiful flag display that I would encourage you to take an opportunity to look at. Thank you for coming today, and thank you all veterans for your service. We're deeply grateful.
would you bow in prayer with me for just a moment? Nobody's mentioned it, but we've had a bit of wind today, just a bit. I always consider wind an opportunity to think about what God might be trying to tell us, and I think God is pushing us forward from here to do this in our own ways as many times as we can, as we say thank you to our veterans. So let's spend just a moment in prayer. Almighty God, send us forth from here with a renewed dedication to treat all who have served or are serving our country with grateful appreciation. Send us forth from here with a renewed spirit of seeking peace, so that the walls of hatred and warfare and strife will diminish in its influence. Send us forth from here with grateful hearts and lives, that you watch over us in our complex world, in our difficult decisions, in our human frailty, that you will not abandon us and will bless us with a country worth serving and a world worth saving. Amen.
Let's head over to either the tour or to the reception. Thank you.